Do you want the photo of her flag?
I see. No, it's okay. So I see you're a hardcore Obama supporter. Is that right?
Yes.
Are you from Australia or
Yeah,
something?
I can't vote for him though.
You're from Australia?
Yeah. Australians love Obama.
Australians love Obama. And what is there to love about him, I wonder?
He's a wonderful man. He's got a social conscience.
He has a social conscience. And what's the definition of a social conscience?
Well, he brought in, he tried to bring in some form of universal health cover for all the 35 or 45 million people who weren't covered. We have universal health cover in Australia.
Mm-hmm. And you're happy with that, right?
Extremely.
I was there.
Extremely, okay.
I was there.
So that's one of the reasons why you're so happy. Australians are so happy about Obama. Any other reason besides universal health care?
Well, he got them out of he got them out of Iraq, and he voted against the Iraq war too.
I'm sorry?
And he was publicly spoke out against the Iraq war at the time, which was quite brave in this country to do that.
Really?
Yeah, wasn't it? Because it was seen as quite not patriotic, wasn't it? Remember Bush said you're either with us or against us?
Yeah, I do. But I'm just thinking, going back to, you were very close to be actually enslaved by the Japanese back in the Second World War, weren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not enslaved.
Well, I mean, that's what the Japanese did. Every country that they conquered, they enslaved the people over there.
Yeah,
they used our POWs as bayonet practice,
Yeah, I know, we had.
You know that. I mean, there were so many Australians who, fought against the Japanese. So, I mean, the reason I'm bringing it up is when you're attacked, and we were attacked in our city, in New York City, right, on 9/11. I mean, the reason the United States of America went to war was because we were attacked by the Japanese at Pearl Harbor, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, do you think it was the right thing to do when you were attacked in 1941 on December 7th in Pearl Harbor to declare war on Japan?
Yes, and also to do, when you 9/11, to go into Afghanistan was the right thing to do.
But not Iraq.
But what did Iraq have to do with it?
So you don't think?
No weapons of mass destruction.
So you're for the war in Afghanistan, though, right?
Because your country was invaded, and that's where Osama was supposed to be. It wasn't in Afghanistan. The Taliban.
But the funny thing is that he was eventually killed in Pakistan.
Yeah, that was 10 years later.
Well, yeah, but speaking of what country to attack, so you think that the war in Afghanistan was the right thing to do?
And I don't think resources should have been taken away from that and put into Iraq, because what did Iraq have to do with 9/11?
Well, a lot,
the
but
Taliban.
well, weapons of mass destruction.
But there was none.
Saddam Hussein did have weapons of mass destruction. He used weapons of mass destruction on his Kurdish minority, and he would have used the weapons of mass destruction once we would have lessened the sanctions that he was under. He was just playing the waiting game, and the Russians were helping him.
They proved that he didn't have them, and
He did have them.
and the United Nations didn't sanction that war.
Okay, so let's. So that's another reason why you're happy. You're in love with infatuated with Obama. Any other reason why you think Obama deserves another 4 years?
Because I think he's better for the world.
He's what?
I think I think that I don't like when George Bush came in and slashed all the taxes for the rich.
So you want to increase taxes on the rich?
Not increase, but not slash them. Why slash them? We should all pay our fair share.
What's the definition of fair share? I'm always mesmerized.
Well, I find that the richer you are, the less tax you pay, because you've got to...
But that's not true. It's just the opposite. We call it progressive tax. Isn't it so?
Well, hopefully, but we've
Wait, hold on.
had a lot of loopholes that meant that you didn't have... you could get away with not paying tax. Lots of loopholes.
Are you against REACH in
Setting
general?
up family.
No. So what's your definition of fair share? Is it 50%? Is it 70%? Is it 80%? 95%? I mean,
No. I think,
well, where would you draw the line?
I think our top tax rate is about, it's not, I think I pay about 30%
Okay.
as a middle income earner.
Okay. And how much do you think the REACH should pay?
The top ones pay, it's not a lot more. It's definitely not 50.
So how much do you think they should pay so that you will call it fair?
Well, I think they should pay tax. They shouldn't.
They
have all
do
these-
pay taxes.
They shouldn't have.
Oh,
all-
yes, they do pay
They
taxes.
shouldn't have all these.
A little bit of statistics. I don't know whether you're aware of that or not.
Yeah.
First of all, you know that half of Americans pay exactly zero taxes. None whatsoever. No taxes at all. Did you know
but
that?
they pay all the other taxes, don't
Like
they?
what?
They pay the state ones and the VAT,
We don't have that.
No, what's yours called? Ours is called GST.
Well, we
Goods
have.
and Services Tax. What's that one they...
Well, we have city tax.
And the one that's
we
on
have.
every time you purchase something.
It's sales tax.
Sales tax. Oh, we
Yeah,
call
right.
ours Goods and Services Tax.
Okay. Plus we have VAT.
Some
please.
call it VAT. So they don't pay nothing.
So you think it's but so do the rich. I mean, everybody else pays sales taxes. It's a totally different story. It's not like income tax. You know, we're talking about income tax. That's what we call it here. You earn something, you have to pay without even spending anything. You have the choice. When you buy something, you pay the tax. But you have a choice of not buying something.
Well, we had a tax threshold of $6,000. You didn't pay tax if you earned less than $6,000. But now we've increased it.
Okay, but
$18,000.
let me just understand. I mean, as an Australian, I'm just wondering, you know, your perception of, I guess, the way things work in the United States versus the way it works in Australia. I mean, 50% of Americans pay no taxes at all. Income taxes, not sales taxes. A different story.
Yeah,
Income
they pay
taxes,
all the
okay?
other taxes.
Now,
So
do you
that's
know?
not no tax.
Do you know that 1%, just 1% of richest Americans pay? Guess how much? In the total of
lot,
taxes.
I hope.
Well, how much?
Because
1%. How much do you think they contribute to all the tax revenues of the whole country?
I don't know, but they're very,
Well,
very
well,
wealthy, so it'd be a lot.
Okay, but how much do you think?
It'd be a lot. Because they're
Percentage-wise,
super
do you think 5%, 10%, 50%, 70%, 100%?
Hey, what about that over in Australia too? Over the last 10, 20 years, the people who have paid the higher income tax earners, like the CEOs and all the people at the top, their income has increased disproportionately to the person at the bottom. So in our country, there's getting a wider and wider gap between
But
rich and
it's
poor.
just a simple statistics. I mean, you are a proponent of the rich people paying more. But do you know how much they actually pay? How much do they
I'm not saying
contribute?
they should pay more.
You
I'm
just
saying
said.
they should pay.
You just said they have to pay
share.
more.
Well, obviously,
What's
percentage-wise.
what's their share?
Percentage-wise, I pay a lot more than someone earning $25,000.
Okay, well, I'll get to that in a second. But
Okay.
what do you think? What do you think? 1% of richest American. How much do you think they contribute to the whole tax revenue of the whole country? Do you know?
It should be a lot because they earn a lot.
For rich people, he's gonna do.
If I tell you 40%,
Raise taxes.
so 1% contributes
So they must
40%.
be paying a lot. They must be earning a lot.
1% contributes 40%. 50% contribute zero.
And what's
Is
the-
it fair?
And what's the percentage? What percentage do they pay?
They pay
I pay-
over 30%.
I pay about
Over 30%.
I pay 33%.
Well, so
As
do
a
they.
middle income earner.
Well, I mean, so do the rich people, even more percentage-wise. So you think they should pay what, 50%, 60%, and then what's going to happen?
No, I don't think they should be paying. I just think they should be paying their taxes, not having them slashed.
But they pay. I just gave you the number. 1% contributes 40%.
Well, if they're only paying 30%, that's okay, because I pay 33%.
Well, they pay more than 30%.
I'm not on millions.
Yeah, but I mean, I just gave you the number. Is it fair that 1% contributes 40% and 50% contributes 0? Is that fair? I mean, you can Google it in this day and age. In 2 seconds, you can get access to all the information.
Well, if the
so is it fair?
If the 50% were earning what the 1% earned, they'd be paying that tax too. There you go.
Well, it's a free country. Everybody can become rich. And they can become rich. Bill Gates started from nothing. He became the richest man in the world.
Yeah, not everyone.
So did Steve Jobs. Well, these are just a couple of examples.
But not everyone can.
No, you cannot expect everybody to be rich.
Other people have
but we're talking about fairness. So do you think it's fair that 1% contributes 40% and 50% contributes 0? Is it fair?
Well, I don't like when you say 0 because they pay
Zero.
all those other
Well,
taxes.
taxes. I mean, sales tax is a totally different story. I'm only talking
Yeah,
about
but other
income
taxes.
taxes. I'm talking
You
about
have
income
other
tax.
taxes as well.
Well, but that's if you're rich or poor. If you go and buy a cup of coffee, we pay the same amount. It depends on the city, it depends on the state. As you know, in our country, the sales tax is different
What
depending on the
country are you from?
Russia originally.
Russia? Oh.
Yes.
I work with some Russians.
What's that?
Yeah, I work with some Russians.
Some Russians. Okay, well, I'm an American citizen, so it's not like Russian. It's a different story. So, but I'm still trying to get the answer. I mean, it's simple. Is it yes or no? Is it fair that 1% pays 40% and 50% pays 0?
Well, dependent on their income, it's fair.
It's fair.
I pay 33%.
So it's fair.
Somebody who only earns 18,000 pays nothing. Well, that's fair.
So it's fair.
That's fair.
So it's fair.
If someone's only earning 18,000 and I'm on my income
So wait a minute.
of
So
81,000,
so it's fair, but
and I pay 33%.
but it has been like that for quite some time. Actually, it has been like that. So why is Obama so different? I mean, then what has he done? He just want to take more money from the super rich. Guess what? If he takes every single penny from every single middle upper class person as well as the richest people in the world, do you know how much this money would last for our country?
But he won't be doing that.
Just a couple of
Who
months.
said he's doing that? He's not
You know why? Because he, at the same time, spent in mere 4 years $6 trillion.
Well, how come Bill Clinton left this country in great shape and Bush left it in dire straits?
I'll explain.
Dire.
I'll explain. You have to go back to Carter Reagan years, though. Remember when Reagan took over from Carter? Remember how horrible the economy was under Carter? The interest rate, the unemployment rate, it was much higher than it was under Bush. Guess what Reagan did?
What?
Well, what did he do? Well, okay, let ask you first. Has the economy improved dramatically under Reagan?
Didn't he did similar to Maggie Thatcher, didn't he?
Has the economy improved dramatically under Reagan?
Yeah, but you never say at what cost. I know the cost.
Well, first of all, has the economy improved dramatically under Reagan?
Well, I don't know about way back then.
What's that?
I don't know about way back then.
Well, it has. It has improved
I've read lots
dramatically.
of articles that said that's where the rot set in.
What's that?
That's where the rot set in with the Reaganomics.
Exactly, Reaganomics, right. So it has improved dramatically. Guess what he did? Cut taxes. Yes, that's exactly what he did. Do you know how many new jobs were created? Some of the best months during the Reaganomics?
Was Reagan in power in the 1980s?
He was he took over, let me think, in 1980.
Yeah, the 80s were boom
79.
time.
Well,
The world.
because I came here in
The
1988,
world
it was,
booming then.
well, thanks to Reagan and Thatcher. Guess what both of them did? Do you remember what the trick was?
But they, at great social cost.
Cut. How can it be?
All those miners
Hold on.
lost their jobs.
Let me try to understand. When Obama, in 4 years that he has been in office, we hardly ever had the unemployment rate lower than 8%, right? During the Bush years, At the lowest point when it comes to unemployment, I mean, speaking of the cost, I mean, when you don't have a job, it's a disaster, right? So this number is very important. So when Bush was president, our lowest unemployment rate was, I believe, close to 4.6%.
And just before Obama got elected, you had the GFC.
Well,
GFC, and he was left to deal with that.
We can we can discuss it separately.
And that was because of all the deregulation.
No, it's not because of that.
And the banks,
not because
of regulation.
You know why the whole disaster happened, and you have to go back to Carter years. Let me ask you something. Let me ask you a simple question.
You blame Carter. I don't believe
hold on. Let's think logically. Use common sense. Let's say you want to buy a car, for instance, or you want to buy, I know, this flag, Obama flag, okay? That costs, let's say, $5, okay? But you only make 10 cents. Do you think you can go to the bank and ask for a loan to buy, even though you're making 10 cents, to buy a flag that costs $1? That doesn't make any economic sense.
That's why everything's been outsourced to China, because they make it cheap.
No. The point that I'm trying to make is that people, a community organizer by the name Barack Hussein Obama, they were pushing the banks to give money to people who couldn't really afford houses. I mean, I have a heart.
That wasn't under Obama. That was under Bush.
It started way before that. Bush tried to fix that. And you know what the banks did? They had no choice. They were pressured. Let me finish. We have two organizations called Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. Okay. So what did they do? They bought those loans from the banks. So the banks essentially were off the hook, but they had no choice because they were pressured by people like Barack Hussein Obama. Okay.
But they were.
So eventually, this shell game could have lasted for only so long. And it happened to happen in 2008. It could have happened way before that.
Under Bush, see, in Australia, you wouldn't get a loan. You wouldn't get a home loan without decent income and decent deposit.
Exactly, and you shouldn't. And
Australia didn't go into recession.
And it shouldn't. But if you were in America back in, roaring 2000, whatever, 4 or 5 and so on, there was a housing bubble. You can walk into the bank with very low income. They will tell you zero down payment.
Our banks are much stricter regulated, so that didn't happen.
But that's what happened. In fact, Bush tried to reform it.
That wasn't under Obama.
Okay, well, listen, if he's going to win, it's going to be a disaster for the whole world. And you'll mark my words in Australia.
It's a disaster Bush getting in,
All right.